It was a high-profile murder case that led to a conviction last night. Tonight, the family of Linda Frickey is coming together with the DA and other law enforcement officials to talk about the guilty verdict. Emily Strahan joining us now live with more on that.
Hi, Cherise. Yeah, so we just heard from District Attorney Jason Williams and the family of Linda Frickey, and they said that with this crime, it all came down to one choice. After 4 hours of deliberations last night, the jury found Honore guilty of second-degree murder. And that trial, no one was arguing who committed the crime, rather the intent behind the crime. The trial may be over, but this is not over for John Honore. He'll be sentenced to life in prison for his crime come January, but could be eligible for parole after 25 years. Matt Durbus with the DA's office brought up one thing that set this case apart, and that was the severity of the crime, saying that the decision to try a juvenile as an adult is never an easy one.
The conviction of Honore and his accomplices serves as a reminder that violent acts in the city of New Orleans will not go unpunished.
This case, crosses a line. This was so heinous and so brutal that the jury looked at that and they said, despite our reservations about prosecution of juveniles as adults, this particular case, it was obviously the right move.
And we spoke with Linda's family, and we will have more on what she thought about that verdict coming up at 6 o'clock. In New Orleans, Amelia Strahan, WWL Louisiana.
All right, Amelia, thank you so much. And tonight we're joined by criminal justice expert from Dillard University, Dr. Ashraf Ismail. And is there anything really different about how this case was handled that stands out to you?
Well, first, I think what we talked about yesterday, we were wondering what the argument was going to be, right, from the defense attorney's perspective, because it didn't seem like there was any kind of generalized argument. I think the most surprising thing right from the beginning is that they admitted guilt, which is not usually the case from the defense side. Usually when you want to go to trial, usually the plea is not guilty, but the idea that they were accepting guilt, but again, attempting to get manslaughter. And then again, we're looking at the argument and there was really none.
Right.
Other than I grew up in a bad home, my dad, was not good to me, or not really any kind of valid arguments there.
Would that have made a difference? I know that there were some records that weren't sealed that weren't released.
Well, I think that the concealed records probably would have made the case go against them even worse.
Right.
It showed that he had a lot of history of brutalizing women, including his aunt, and she eventually, dropped the charges. So there was a lot of evidence prior that he engaged in behavior like this, particularly against women. So I think if that information had come out, that would have made the case even worse than it was already presented.
Oh, I know that right now the family, you spoke with some of the family members, they say that the justice has been served and they are in a better place and moving forward right now.
Yeah, this case was also unique in a sense. Obviously, when you think about second-degree murder, generally most cases the assailant and the victim know each other or some kind of interaction, whether just something that causes the altercation. Right. But in this case, there was none. And that's what made it kind of even worse in terms of the brutalization we saw in the video and what would cause someone to brutalize a 70-year-old woman in that way and not just take the car and leave when you had no relationship with the person to engage in that type of anger.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight, Dr. Ismail.
Thank you.